What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Hybrid Network. Luke here, and yeah, we're talking Dragon Ball. More specifically, we're going to be going into detail today about the hierarchy about the world and universe of Dragon Ball. For those of you that don't know, Dragon Ball Super has changed a lot of things about the Dragon Ball canon. Nothing that really contradicts a whole lot of stuff, unless you're talking about a specific time limit that we're not going to get into. There's a lot of things that are just added in that kind of expand the universe and just add a little bit more to it. But with it, there comes a little bit of confusion, because there are a lot of times in Dragon Ball where we get a definitive sort of state about a godly being, and then it turns out that might not specifically be the case. Who knows, by the time you're watching this video, you might even have a different understanding about the hierarchy of the godly beings of the Dragon Ball universe. They might have changed substantially by this point. Again, a lot of this stuff is up in the air, but this is going in accordance with how Dragon Ball Super kind of presents it at the moment. So we're going to be going into detail about all the different godly beings and just sort of their purpose and where they fall in this huge chain of command. I will say, though, as a disclaimer, we're not going to be talking about the World Guardians, things like Korin or Kami and Dende, because they are important in their own right, but they're kind of relegated to a specific planet, whereas we're going to be looking at characters that sort of guard the whole entire universe and just multiple planets that encompass a whole universe. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into this. So the first beings to really tackle when going into this is the Kais. Now the Kais are, as many of you know, a race of beings that act as sort of a guardian for the entirety of a universe. We were introduced to these godly beings actually as early as Dragon Ball Z during the Saiyan saga, when Goku trained on King Kai's planet and learned the moves of the Kaioken and the Spirit Bomb. This was kind of at a moment where we thought King Kai was like the supreme being of the universe, but this was actually not true. Later on, we learned that there were more than one Kai. There was King Kai, who was actually the North Kai, the Southern Kai, the East Kai, and the Western Kai. All of these characters come together and they sort of act as guardians or simply just onlookers of the entire universe, each kind of overlooking a certain quadrant with specific planets in them. We just so happen to get King Kai to look over our planet in his quadrant. Should be noted that they all have a boss, actually, and this is when we get to the Grand Kai. He is sort of the ruler of the other ones, their boss. They all answer to him, and basically his job, he just looks over all the quadrants in general, just overlooking all the planets of the living world. Notice I said living, though, because while the Kais are immense in power, they only overlook the living world. It's not until we get to the next stage of this ladder that we get to the Supreme Kais, and these guys overlook not only the living world and the living realm, but also the other world and the afterlife. The Supreme Kais have a pretty simple job. They overlooked all of the universe, as well as acting as creation gods, introducing new species, creating new planets, and just all forms of life. A lot of you may know this character from the Majin Buu saga of Dragon Ball Z, where they were first introduced. We were introduced to the Supreme Eastern Kai and the Elder Kai as well. We were also introduced to Kibito. However, he was not a official Kai. He was an attendant to the Eastern Supreme Kai. Then when they fused, they became Kibito Kai. Now, what's interesting about the Supreme Kais is that it seems like normally there's only supposed to be 2 Supreme Kais. However, Universe 7 was a bit of an anomaly because we had at least 5 of them. All of them including also the Grand Supreme Kai, who basically acts like the Grand Kai, but, you know, over the Supreme Kais. Should be noted that we kind of went back down to 2, or at least 1 in all technicality, after Majin Buu absorbed the Western, Southern, Northern, and the Grand Supreme Kai, all of which brought him into the good Buu that we know today, and they're still absorbed. Yeah, take that into consideration. Like I said previously, they're mostly known as creation gods and go about doing a lot of creation-like things. However, they have a counterpart on this sort of hierarchy of scale, not really above them in terms of rank, but more so in power. We actually get introduced to one of the first new things that came to us in the Battle of Gods movie, the Gods of Destruction. The whole basic premise of these guys is that they're counterparts to the Kaioshin in that they are basically just bringers of destruction. They destroy what the Kaioshin create to create a sort of balance within the universe. Creation and destruction must live in harmony, and so must the gods of destruction and the Kaioshin. However, this might not necessarily always be the case, as many of us know Beerus is the one that trapped Elder Kai within the Z-Sword that Gohan found in the sacred world of the Kais. With each of these gods of destructions, actually we're introduced to 2, Beerus and Champa, both from 2 respective universes. universes, Universe 6 and Universe 7, they have an angelic guardian. Whis is the guardian of Beerus and basically acts as his assistant and just basically keeps him in line, helps him kind of stay on his duties. You can't be a god of destruction without shirking your responsibilities, so it only makes sense that an assistant is there to kind of keep you on track, telling you, hey, get back to doing your job. From what we can tell, the attendants aren't necessarily above rank of the gods of destruction. Of course, they're below them, but they do seem to have a higher power level than I think the actual gods of destruction. But once you think about it, this kind of makes sense. I mean, if you have to keep a god of destruction in line, and this guy has the power to destroy whole galaxies, don't you think you should be a little bit stronger just to make sure that they stay in line? It only seems fair to do your job, in all honesty. And at the moment, the only person that is above all of these beings is Zeno-sama. Zeno-sama seems to be the All-King and sort of the ruler of all the 12 universes. Previously, there were 18, but as Beerus states, when he got into a bad temper, Zeno-sama destroyed 6 of the other ones, leaving us with 12. So yeah, you definitely don't want to get on this guy's bad side. Zeno-sama is essentially the highest being in the Supreme Authority, and for all intents and purposes is the god of Dragon Ball. Although a lot of people could say that Akira Toriyama fills that role, which, hey, I subscribe to that as well, but I mean, come on, I don't want to argue with a dude that can destroy universes. Zeno-sama has 2 attendants that attend to him, and it is assumed that they have some sort of power level that is equal or a little bit less than Zeno-sama. They're not really there to keep him in line, they're more there to make sure that he doesn't get attacked by anyone else. Although, in all fairness, it doesn't seem like Zeno-sama would really have any problem taking care of anybody. But Zeno-sama doesn't really interact with a lot of stuff. Unless we're counting all the things that happen in the future Trunks saga, it would seem that his main role to just kind of rule over everything, just overlook it. Interacting only when he really wants to, and at that point, who would really stop him? But as it stands right now, that's really all the hierarchy of the Dragon Ball world. We're not sure what else Super can introduce. They could introduce some more godly beings, but I don't think there's going to be anything that really tops Zeno-sama in terms of strength. But what do you guys think about all this? Do you like all the changes that Dragon Ball Super introduced? Do you like the new hierarchy of scale of all the different characters within the Dragon Ball world? Are you a little bit upset that there's a lot of things that were just changed over time and just sort of added in? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like this video, hey, give it a like and give us a thumbs up. It really helps us out. If you want to see more content like our reviews, our character bios, our comic podcasts, and many more, go ahead and subscribe to the Hybrid Network for all that stuff as it comes out. If you guys like this video and want to see more of them, let us know what you guys want us to tackle next in the future. It doesn't necessarily have to be Dragon Ball Super related, but it could be about anything Dragon Ball, and we'd be really happy to tackle some of them in the future if we get around to them. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you next time on the next Dragon Ball Super topic video.